So today, over 55% of the world's population lives in cities. It's higher in the United States. It's about 82%. And it's now over half of the population lives in cities in China. Our cities are critically important. It's anticipated that over 2/3 of the world's population will live in cities by 2050. And I would ask, how many of you in the room know someone who is going to be living in 2050? Right, that's 31 years from now. Maybe a child, relative. We're talking about what the future will be for them and how people will live in communities. Communities are a key element of human life, and I want to make just 3 points today. That ecosystemic collaboration is dynamic, it's adaptive, unusual things happen, we have to be ready for them, and it's the relationship links that help to make innovation ecosystems work. The second point is that shared vision and trust accelerate innovation. And all of us in the visions that we are building have the opportunity to create stories of the future that we want to live in and to share those stories with others. And the third is that by knowing and orchestrating your relationship capital, you are able to accelerate innovation development. So let me say we live in communities. Humans have lived in communities since the beginning of time. This San Francisco community, and we know that communities are built on ecosystems of trusting relationships. People that know that they can expect a promise to be fulfilled, that they can trust that a person is telling them the truth. In our organizations, we are accustomed to thinking about organizations in a traditional hierarchy, like the picture on the left. But in fact, we all know that the way that things get done is through the relationships and the exchanges of information and resources and assets that happen through personal relationships. And so in thinking about the companies of the future and innovation, we are thinking of a co-creation infrastructure that is based on relationships. The organizations that finance companies, a variety of companies, are in key positions to help to create a shared vision of the future. The directors of the boards of many different companies, as they meet and plan the future, are in key positions to understand and direct the nature of the future. And at universities, whether those are the universities in Nanjing or here at Stanford University, we know that the experiences students have in their studies form powerful personal relationships. And it's interesting to look at the relationships among the alumni of 4 universities in the United States that are quite well known for their innovation. And I'll show you here what's called a network diagram, in which you see the alumni of the university in blue, and you see the companies they have created or financed or are on the boards of in red. And so I show you this picture, and you can see that out of one university, a lot of alumni have started not one company, but several companies. This is MIT. These are the graduates of MIT who have started companies, have financed companies, or are on the boards of companies. I can show you Berkeley. Berkeley is a large university by US standards, and has a strong engineering, very strong engineering programs. And here you see not necessarily the engineers, but you see the founders and the funders and the board members. I'll show you Harvard. I think you see the influence of the business school here. Many companies, many individuals. And I'll show you one last university. This is Stanford. And there's something in the DNA of Stanford that is like Silicon Valley, that says we can build on our strengths, we can do things together, and we can help each other. And so you see not only the number of companies, the number of alumni, but you see that graduates of Stanford are working together on their companies. And that's a powerful message that I want to drive home. mediaX is essentially based on that kind of relationship development. We're a virtual center that works with about 24 laboratories across campus that range from engineering to communication to behavioral sciences, psychology, business, music, medicine. And we work with the labs in those colleges in which the researchers are interested in questions, research questions, that include both people and information technologies. And in this activity, we are looking for the questions that are 5 to 7 years out in their application and saying, how can we want to continue to be a leading university in the world. We must be focused on the best questions of the future. So that's what we're looking for, the best questions for our research. In cities and communities and in innovation, we find many interesting questions. Some of the research has looked at how information technologies have enabled the new platform economy. And this is, of course, data focused. It has come into play because internet and information flow is global and allows companies to exchange information through application programming interfaces, APIs, and in exchanging that information to create collaborations that use data as the fuel for identifying the legacy systems, the mobile apps, the databases, the peer services, third-party components are building the infrastructure. Critical to this is having a shared language, which is called ontologies, how we are going to label the trucks, the cars, the drives, and in addition to that, how those will fuel the commerce. The web APIs and the companies that collaborate through them are a key element of the ecosystems of the future. Now we can look at some of the new ecosystems that are developing in mobility, for example, and see that in shipping we have both transportation and e-commerce and logistics and many other companies whose products and services come together to make that industry. In aerospace, of course, we can see that it's drones and aviation and travel and automotive and manufacturing and transportation that help to create that ecosystem of the aerospace sector. Similar in public transportation, not just the transportation, but the mobile communication as well, and all of the other companies who are contributing to that platform. So in these new sectors, these sectors of the 21st century, we find that they behave like complex systems. And what I mean by that is that they are adaptive. They may change. Change in one area may have a ripple effect and influence changes in other companies. That there are dispersed patterns of coordination, and that new activities can spin up at any time. So when we look at the stakeholders in an innovation ecosystem, many of them were mentioned today in the areas of Nanjing. We have the startups, we have the angels and the VC firms that are funding them, the law firms, the accounting firms, they're part of it. The universities, of course, for talent flow. The banks and financial institutions play a key role. And the utilities and industry associations are also important. Let's not forget the customers and the markets. Let's not forget the talent development system. As the needs of industry are fed into the university and the educational system and help to provide the talent that will solve that in the future. The field of AI is currently, of course, in its infancy, but as we look to its development, we know that there are many ecosystems of both companies and of talent flows that will develop. They include deep learning, recommendation systems, evidence-based decision, machine learning systems, perceptive analytics, natural language, text mining, predictive analytics. And as we look at what happens in the communities, in order to fuel this pipeline of talent, it's important to see that the city plays a key role in taking care of the communities in the city, which have a key role in creating an environment for the families in the community, who have a key role in producing individuals who are productive and in the school programs are learning how to contribute to the community. This can be a virtuous cycle, and in order to create the most positive outlook for the future, for the pipeline of talent, and for the ecosystem of innovation, it's important that we ask, what are our human visions for future communities? What do we expect the quality of life to be like for our future communities? Community wellness can be measured. It can be measured in terms of population growth and decline, the numbers of companies and jobs, revenues and taxes, affordable housing, homelessness, access to retail, crime rates, air and water quality, regional identity, community organizations. We can measure the wellness of communities. And if we can measure it, we can identify how we can intervene. And the interventions that we might make might be in terms of activities or events. They might be, we can measure those in terms of impact. But I want you to appreciate that the greatest impact is the creation of new relationships, new coalitions of people who share a vision of creating a future in which they want to participate in. So what are our human visions for future communities? Do we want people to be able to go to the beach for recreation? All right. Do we want students to have housing when they go to school? Yes. But can we be more specific about the quality of those experiences that we want people to have? Now, the Nanjing area has marvelous technical infrastructure in terms of its train system, rail, and internet. It has the potential of having wonderful infrastructure in terms of its talent flows. And we want to ask for the people who live in the communities, how will they participate in the future? What is our human vision for their collaboration? And from a planning standpoint, how will we use technology to empower and enhance the human experience? Now, from a Stanford point of view, here in the context of Silicon Valley, I'll share with you 5 tips and rules for innovation. One is iterate quickly, take personal responsibility for what you are doing, learn from what works and what doesn't work. If it doesn't work, change it right away. Don't persist in doing something that doesn't work. Start again right away, and don't do it alone. Develop the best partners and relationships that you can. So, as you develop the shared visions, I want to also encourage you, with the people that you work with, to put them in your story. Because if we are in the same story together, we're working on the same future. And in spite of the many things that will change over time, that are part of a creative and adaptive innovation ecosystem, if we're seeing the same future, we are likely to end up together in the same future. So, ecosystemic collaboration is dynamic and adaptive. Things are changing all the time. Relationship capital matters. Shared vision and trust will accelerate innovation because they reduce the risks of uncertainty. And we want to create stories about the future that we want to live in together. It's up to us to know and orchestrate the relational capital of the ecosystemic innovation. So I thank you very much for your attention.